Hello, everyone. Welcome to an edition of the Ohio Guys here. I'm Christian Ocampo, and today I'm joined by another guest here. We have Natalie Van Sistine. How are you doing, Natalie?
I'm doing pretty good.
Awesome. It's great to have you here for your very first interview.
Yeah, that's my pleasure.
So we're excited to talk to you and to ask you some questions we have here. So first of all, what is it like working in the industry today?
So working in the industry seems to be like two different questions at this point, since this is in the middle of COVID. It's kind of morphed into another thing entirely. For me, until recently, working in the industry, I mostly do a lot of my work remotely. So actually, this transition didn't impact me too badly. I started working full time when I moved to Texas last year. And before that, I was living in South Carolina, working part time, recording in the evening after I got home from my day job. And so for me, recording and working in this industry mainly means coming home, checking my email, seeing what auditions came through, recording them in my own home setup and booth and sending them off, and then booking and working with clients a lot remotely over Skype or whatever video audio chat program they use. So ironically, now things are kind of just that because of COVID. I was only just starting to get to go into studios a little bit more, and I was like, oh, this is great. I'm going to love this. And I want to do more of this. And then, of course, everything shut down. So ironically, for me, a lot hasn't changed, like I said, but that's kind of what the industry looks like for me right now, which is interesting because that I know hasn't been the reality for a lot of working professionals. Is they rely on studios being open, going into those studios, whereas I'm more responsible for self-marketing myself and working directly with clients. I don't have an agent yet. I pretty much manage my entire career by myself. So it's been very interesting.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a lot of changes. So let me ask you this for your next question. What is your favorite project you have worked on?
My favorite project I've worked on so far, I've worked on a lot of cool projects. I'm still kind of narrowing down which one's my very favorite, partially just because I haven't had a lot of projects where I've really stuck with them a long time. Voiceover, I tend to go in, finish up my job within like a day or so, and then just be done with that project. So as cool as those projects are, I think some of the best projects are usually the ones you're sticking with for a long time. So National Park Girls is probably one of the ones that's up there. I play the main character, Eve. I really love her, and I've been able to voice her in 3 episodes right now. It's an episodic kinetic visual novel, and so I really enjoyed getting to play her because she's actually come back. She's got a lot of content to work with. I get to see her develop as a character over each new episode, and she's just really fun to play. So if I had to pick, that's probably it. But I still think I haven't hit quite a sweet spot in my career yet where I've really got to dig into a ton of stuff where I get to go, okay, this is perfectly embodied, like the best job in my career so far.
Definitely.
Not that the ones I haven't done aren't great. They have been excellent, but I haven't had the life-changing moment one either yet, if that makes sense.
No, definitely. It makes perfect sense. So since you have moved to Texas and start working with various studios, to be in chronological order, talk about this about Rio Rainbow Gate. What was it like working on that show?
Rio was really, really fun. That was the very first anime I got to work with. I've been friends with the director and the owner of the studio, Sound Cadence, Amberly Connors. I've been friends with her since 2009, 2010. We've known each other. So when she started Sound Cadence, she already had some friends that she was networking with, and I was very lucky to be a part of that group. So when she coordinated with Media Blasters at that point, she was definitely like, yeah, I want to give opportunities to people who normally don't have the ability to work in or access anime. So it was my first time ever auditioning for an anime. It was my first time I ever booked an anime. or wait, no, I think I had read for one other at that point, but this is my first booking for sure. And so that was really cool. And I was still living in South Carolina at that point, so I flew over to Texas. It was my first time since I think like high school that I'd been in Texas, and I'd never been to Dallas. And so I crashed on the couch with Amber, and that was when Sound Cadence was like a little baby entity. And so we just had one room and we went in and recorded, and it was a lot of fun. It's amazing to me looking back at what we were doing back then, because we thought, well, we'll just kind of figure this out as we go. And there's a lot of stuff where I'm amazed we made it work. And it's really a testament to how incredibly talented and tenacious Amber was, because that never would have happened if it wasn't for just her passion and drive on that project. So it was really fun. I really enjoyed playing one of the feature characters, whose name is Rosa. And she was a really fun character because she's this washed up actress who basically lives at a casino. and there's one episode where if you see nothing else from the show, the third episode is her feature episode, and she gets possessed by the ghost of a different casino, the owner from that. And the owner of that casino was obsessed with chicken wings. So she gets possessed by this ghost and is stalking people trying to steal chicken wings. And she wants to take over the casino because she's mad. I think it got stolen from her or something like that. It's just the most ridiculous thing ever. And so I had to play both Rosa and then kind of like a possessed version of her, which is like raspy ghost voice. And she's like chasing down characters and, eating chicken legs the whole time. It was just really fun.
Yeah, no, I love that show for very special reason. Yeah. Not only did, Amber put together a great team of people that were breaking into the anime scene, but she got people from all over the country, even one person from Canada, and that's Antfish. And I was happy that Antfish, Anthony Sardina, for those of you guys watching this interview, got to break in his acting chops into this show. So it was a very diverse, very unique, unusual cast, just pulled together like this.
Mm-hmm. And she was really passionate about getting the right people into the right place and giving a lot of us, again, who didn't have access to working in anime opportunities. So I still am super grateful to her for doing that.
Yeah, and it's hope to continue seeing good things from her, from Sound Cadence, and hopefully many more mishmash casts like this year. So see what the future holds.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, another very cute, adorable show that has really got the fandom really loving these past for a few years now. Kimono Friends. Was like working that show.
I loved working on Kimono Friends. Again, it was one of the ones where I kind of came in and I only had a few hours with it, but I really, really enjoyed it. It was interesting auditioning for that one because we just got this. Marissa was really determined, the director, Marissa Lenti, she was really determined to make sure that every character had their own voice and their own unique voice. So she went out of her way to audition for most of the characters that you saw. So I remember week after week, I'd be like, oh, what's the new batch of Kimono Friends auditions coming in? And just trying out the different voices for everything. And I was like, I think I've got a chance to book one of them just because there's so many characters, but there were so many of them. And I thought they were all so cool and really interesting. So I was like, oh, I really hope I get one. And then I booked Silver Fox. And I really love her because she's such a mom friend. And that's very much me. So like I came in and we were recording and the Red Fox had already been recorded at that point. So I was able to respond or work off of her. And the whole time I'm like, oh, she's so cute. And then and Marissa was just like, I love this. Be a mom. Be more mom. She's like, I could feasibly see like any of these characters together, but like this is such a mother, daughter, sister relationship. Just like that, I can't. She's like, I know some people ship them, but this is the one I cannot see. And I kind of agree with her on that. So that was really fun really fun to do. And I actually, that was another one I flew down to Texas for. That was about 6 months before I officially moved. So it was simultaneously my scout out where to live in Texas and also record for some anime trip. And so I came in and I was sitting behind the director and the engineer at that time, and Sarah Williams was recording for Tsukunoko at the beginning, and that was kind of my first experience seeing the dub, and I was like, oh, this is so good. This is gonna be so good. I was so excited. Just right in, I could tell it's gonna be good.
Definitely. Again, the cast of this exploded all over Twitter last year.
Mm-hmm.
Clips were all over the Twitter. The cast is, again, just like with Rio Rainbow Gate, people from across the country were casting it. So again, Texas, New York, California, it was again another mishmash, another unique casting. So
yeah, Marissa also went out of her way to make sure that there was a lot of opportunities for people, and it was just wonderful what she was able to do to accommodate us and let us be involved. That was just really wonderful.
Yeah, again, hopefully more stuff like this comes out. And Sound Cadence has really, showed their prowess of 2019, and hope they keep the train going to 2020 and to 2021.
I agree.
All right, and now for your next show, you got to work with the fine folks at Funimation.
Yeah.
What was it like working on Azure Lane?
I was really nervous because that was my first named role. I had been in for a couple of like Walla bit sessions before that, but that was the first time I had a named character there. And it was really funny because when you get called for Funimation, they'll usually tell you what show you're working on and which director, but they won't always tell you like, hey, you're going to be this character. So Amber, again, was very kind enough to recommend me. So when you're breaking in at Funimation, it's really important who knows you, who knows what you can do, so that when they have a character that comes up, they think of you. And so Amber had asked me a couple weeks before, she's like, hey, I'm working on this show, and the director's going to need a lot of female voice actors who can do accents. And I can do a passable enough British accent that she's like, yeah, I'm going to put your name into the ring and make sure I recommend you for especially with all the British boats coming out, and in the show, all the girls are based off of real life boats. So when you say that, all the British boats, they're literally girls, but they meant to represent these boats that fight each other and everything. I'm still not 100% on the logic, but it's fine. And so with that one, I'm very convinced when I got the email. It's like, oh, great, cool. So it looks like I went on the website, I looked, I was like, okay, so these episodes have been out. So I'm probably going to be in either this one or this one. And I'm probably going to be a British boat because that's what Amber recommended me. So I thought, okay, I got to practice my British accent. And I was looking ahead and watching the episode to see, I'm like, okay, what are they doing? What type of voices do I need to keep in mind? And I go in that day, and it's my first time meeting and working with Tabitha, the director. And so we meet each other. I'm like, hi, nice to meet you. Thank you so much for having me. And this is great. And she has her director's computer up in front of her, and on it she has a visual reel I had made recently of stuff I'd been in previous years, and she has Rio Rainbow Gate, a clip from Rio Rainbow Gate pulled up, and she turns it at me and she goes, you can do this creepy ghost voice. I want something like this for this character. And she shows me this tentacle monster and I was just like, what is this? I was like, I didn't know if this character was going to be on the table. You want me to do that? That's like a significant character. So we went in the booth and we figured out what her voice would be. Originally, some of the things we first tried were sounding a little like some other characters. So it took us a few minutes to kind of figure out what her voice would be. And then so we recorded that. And then the other surprise was when the episode came out, they put this vocal distortion on their voices on the sirens, any of the enemy alien boats, so that their pitch goes up and down and it sounds very robotic and creepy, and it's this really cool effect. But I wasn't prepared for that either. So this show is constantly startling me. So that's been really neat. And then with the simuldub schedule, she shows up pretty much once an episode pretty consistently after that, except I think she misses like one episode. And she's like this exposition machine. So I just knew I was going to get an email just about every single week. It's time to go in and record my exposition boat. And everything. So it was really fun to work on her.
From what I've seen, it's an interesting show in itself. I will say that.
Yes, I could not possibly explain how it works or what exactly is happening, but it was fun to work on.
That's as best anyone can sum it up.
So yeah, it was very fun. I'm still hoping we'll get to record. We haven't recorded the last 2 episodes. I think is still left because there was some animation delays. So we're still kind of hanging out waiting for that to happen, and hopefully it'll happen soon.
All right, hopefully so. All right, so shifting gears from the anime talk to indie games.
Sure.
Let's start off with The Ladder. What was the working on that game?
So The Letter is a really cute game, or I say cute, it's a horror game. I mean, I say cute because the art is really beautiful, and the studio behind it, Yang Yang Mobile, does a beautiful job with the production design and pretty much everything they've done. So it's always neat to see what they put out with. But that was kind of like their flagship game with their new studio. I did not work a ton on The Letter, I'll be honest. I'm a character that has a small role at the beginning, and then without spoiling anything, she doesn't become very relevant after a certain amount of time. So I had a really good time working on it, but for the most part, I really just had kind of one session where I just hung out with Amber on a Skype call, and we went through all the lines that she had. My character's name is Rose. She's kind of like the mentor co-worker figure of the main character. So they're trying to sell this old mansion, and they both work at a real estate agency or something along those lines. And so she's helping show this house, and creepy stuff starts happening to the main character, and my character kind of ends up in the background after a certain amount of time. But it was kind of fun. It was definitely another mom, friend, older sister, mentor character. So that seems to be my typecast. And so yeah, I really enjoyed. I still haven't finished it, but I really liked what I did play of the game, and I've always been meaning to go back to finish it. I just haven't. I'm bad at remembering to finish PC games.
Most people are these days.
Yeah, I'm guilty of having the long list of Steam games that I haven't played yet. So hopefully fix that. You'd think I'd have all this time at home, but I don't.
I'm not perfect either, so there's that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so another game that just recently was announced back in June. What was that working on? Radiant Stars.
So Radiant Stars is one of the latest updates for the game Paladins. And so that one, it still hasn't quite come out yet, but that was my first time working over at another studio locally here. And it was really neat. It was my first time doing like in studio game session. So I'd had some training and some experience recording remotely, but it was really neat to just see the studio was beautiful, and to just have this huge space to actually move and act in. I'm usually used to being in a very confined little booth. So that was really cool to me. And so I really enjoyed that. And so Radiant Stars is the kind of like Sailor Moon skin update. There's 4 characters that got like Sailor Moon skins. And so I play Ceres's Sailor Moon skin, which is Stellar Mender Ceres. And so that was just really neat because she's a healer support character in that. And so I got to do a lot of, kind of like yelling. It's a lot of it's like 2 solid hours of just reading like 1 sentence lines. You give, different takes, and then they'll edit together kind of what they like after that in the studio. But it's always incredible to work with more and more professional dynamics, or it's not just me on Skype trying to make, engineer myself and record at the same time. So I had a really good time with that.
All right. So another game worked on, one of my personal favorites that came out last year, National Park Girls. What was that working on that one?
I've been working on National Park Girls for about 2 years now, and I I love it. Again, it's a kinetic visual novel series, and it's another one of those ridiculous premises. It seems like this is kind of a theme, is me working on girls that are animals or boats or national parks, but they're human, and anime girls, and shenanigans ensue. And so in that one, I play Eve. She's a park ranger, and so she's one of the few human characters. And so she lives with a bunch of anime girls who are representative of the national parks. And when I saw the initial concept and auditions for it, I was like, well, at least it pays good, because this looks like this is going to be ridiculous. And I can't imagine enjoying this at all, but you know what? You got to pay the bills. And then I read for it, and then I booked it, and I was like, well, okay, it'll be fun. We'll just see what happens. And I remember the first session I got and recording for it, and about a good way through the script, I was just like, this is so well written. Who in their right mind had the audacity to make this a really, really good script? I absolutely fell in love with it. I love the characters. I love the premise. It's just delightful. There's a good all the characters are really well written. The character drama is excellent. It gives me a rare opportunity to actually have a whole span of acting or of emotions to act through. I really have a great time working on that project, and every time I get a new episode, I'm like, yes, I'm so ready to record for this. So it's a really fun series that, if you can get over the initial idea of, oh, this will be terrible premise, it's not. It's so good. It's so good. I love it. I really recommend it.
It's a really great game. I highly recommend people to check it out. And I gotta give credit to Sion, the man behind the game and behind the studio Coattails. But back in June 28th, which is for us by this time recording 2 weeks ago, he ran a charity event, which you were there as well.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Raising tons of money for Black Lives Matter and for the Navajo project for the COVID-19. So raised tons of money and made just the whole experience even more special. Seeing the game being played for people who've never seen it, or people like me who have played the game, and to just see how much care, dedication, and just trying to kind of give back, to the communities out there. And I just got tip my hat to Sion for just putting everything together.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just want to give him a good plug on that one. So
yeah, for sure, he's been great to work with. I've been working with him on that, and then I'm working on Highway Blossoms a little bit, doing some audio engineering for that, and I'm just continuously impressed at how good his work is.
Yeah, he's got a bright future. Same thing with the studio itself. I just want to see more great games come out from his mind, from the studio, and see what the next few years would look like with this with the pace continuing going forward now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, National Park Girls. So I want you to check it out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and now it's time for funny little question. We'd like to ask everyone, if you could be any character you have played in real life, who will you be? And you can mix and match.
I'm trying to think about that one, because I play so many characters who it always seems like they have to deal with a lot of stuff, or just a lot of they're battle hardened warriors, or they're monsters or evil villains. I'm just like, man, that sounds exhausting. That's a lot of work. I don't know if I would be that. I really like the idea of being I like Eve's story, because she deals with some stuff, but she gets to live out in the beautiful national parks, and she gets to enjoy all these magical shenanigans that aren't too life-threatening, but still very good for character building experiences, even though she might hate them. She has a good time, and I like the idea of living out in the middle of nowhere with some magical shenanigans. I think I'd be okay with that. So I could do something like that, or I think I wouldn't mind living in Japari Park with all the Kimono Friend characters too. That sounds fun because they make some really good looking food, and then you get to go see the penguins perform. I mean, they've got some good bops. It's good.
That's a good mix right there.
Mm-hmm.
Kimono Friends, even their physics is funny to see.
Yes, there are so many times when we're recording that, and, you know, when you're dubbing, you keep rewatching bits and pieces over and over again, and you really have to stare at the animation to make sure you're getting the lip flaps correct. And there were so many times where I think Howard was engineering, and he was just like, why is it like that? Who did this? And I think it was a very, very small team of just a couple of people just banging away. So I all the respect for the wonderful work they did. But there's a couple times you look at that show and you just go, okay.
I'm not sure. All right. So is there anything else coming out that you can talk about, or anything else you want to plug in at this time?
Sure. I'm trying to think of what's been announced so far. I'm in a game called Foregone, which is a Metroidvania, really beautifully animated pixel art game. It's in early access on, I think, Steam and Epic so far. It's coming out. I just found out it's coming out in October fully. And so that's really beautiful. I play a character who's known as the Arbiter. She's like a space warrior military person, and she's got this awesome mohawk. I love the way she looks. She's got great character design. So I'm really excited about that one. That's coming out soon. I've recorded a bunch for that, and I can't think of anything else off of the top of my head. I'm sure I'm missing something, and I'm sorry if I am. So I think that's the main one. I also work on a podcast that is kind of on quasi hiatus right now, but if you like audio drama, it's called The Elysium Project. Elysium is in the Greek, Elysium. And so that's available on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you find your podcasts too. So if you're interested in checking that out, that should be getting up and running eventually. It's just been a weird year or two.
Okay. And wrapping up with our final question, I'd like to ask everyone, any Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the other social media for the fans to reach you at?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm on most social media platforms where I have an account. It's N Van Sistine, so first letter of first Natalie, and then my last name, Van Sistine. Think of a van in front of the Sistine Chapel is what we usually say to remember that. So N Van Sistine at Twitter, TikTok, other places. I don't know. That's usually the best way to find me.
All right. Well, thank you, Natalie, for your time, for making this your very first interview with us. Mm-hmm. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it as well.
Yep, our pleasure. And thank you to our viewers for tuning in for this episode of the Ohio Guys. Thank you all, and we'll be seeing you in the next video. Bye, everyone.
Bye.